Do you ever meet someone in a professional setting and they ask you, what do you do? And suddenly you go blank. You don't know what to answer. They put you in a position where you are not sure what they're expecting. And so the first answer that you have in your mind is to give them your title or potentially your occupation. This doesn't tell them much. It doesn't trigger interest. And this is something that is quite common. I have met it with a lot of founders. All the people that I work with almost are not capable to tell me what is really the problem they're solving and what is the brand that they're building. Don't you worry about it, as I prepared a step-by-step guide that you can use that will give you what you should answer next. Even if you follow this guide, you're not alone, because this guy used ChatGPT to help you find the answers that you need. It doesn't forbid you to be creative, but at least it will give you a companion capable to give you a feedback, clean, and order your idea. This step-by-step guide will help you create brand summary that will help you define your offers and the wording and tones that you should use, whether it's for your website or other type of communication, but also one sentence that you can use that define what you do and craft a pitch that will trigger curiosity and question to the people that are listening to you. You will be at the end to be capable to have a sentence that is structured this way. I help who with emotional aim or practical aim, doing something that they have a problem with without a contrast. So to give you an example, I help creator and business owner bring peace and clarity on how they run and grow their business without chaos, trends, or unrelatable advice. To have access to this guide, you just have to comment the word brand and I will send it directly to your email address. But before we reach any of this, we need to understand ourselves. And the step-by-step guide will help you do that. Now, does this template work? Obviously, it worked for me, but we're not really good judges. And so what I decided to do for this video is ask my girlfriend if she wanted me to help her with her brand. She's currently building her own business around bachata dancing. And so I thought it would be a good exercise to run through this video with her on the step-by-step guide and show you the result of what she's built. All right, this is my girlfriend, Alex. She's a dance teacher, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So Alex, what do you do?
Don't steal my line. Hi, so I'm a dance teacher. I teach salsa and bachata in London, and I teach both leaders and followers how to dance.
And what is your brand?
That's a good question. That's why you're here.
Okay, so this is where we start. And so I created this template that we can use. And basically, we're going to go through step by step. And it's going to ask different questions about how you can create your brand by yourself. So the first thing we're going to start, and we're going to use our phone for that. So you're going to use your phone and you're going to create a voice memo. And so the first thing you're going to do is that you're going to record yourself for how long you want. You're going to answer this question. What is your story? So how did you arrive here today to be a dance teacher? What's your background? What happened into your life that made you start this job?
Okay. I started dancing when I was like 7 years old, 7 years old. I started doing ballet in school and I've been dancing ballet for 5 years. I've done many shows and performances. And then around 11 years old, I stopped dancing. And then I was always thinking of starting something else like hip hop or something else, but there wasn't many choices in the city I was growing up in. I found the hip hop classes, but then I was having some issues with my knee and my doctor said I shouldn't really be dancing professionally, or I shouldn't be dancing much. And then I didn't do much until I was 18. And that's when I started doing salsa and bachata classes because that's what was available around. I was also studying Spanish, so it kind of made sense to start doing Latin dance. And then a year after this, I started teaching in the same school I started. Then I was teaching for about a year. And then I came over to London and I signed for a bachata performance course. I did that course, and shortly after I finished that course, I was invited by the instructor to teach the next bachata course with him. So then I started teaching in London. So yeah, it's been 5 years. I've done many performance courses in salsa and in bachata. I've assisted some, I've choreographed a few, and I keep teaching is my main job.
And one last question before you stop the thing is, why are you interested or attracted by dancing?
I think dancing is, for me personally, it just makes me happy. I love the music, I love the freedom, I love the connection with other people. So it's just something that makes me happy personally. But I love teaching because first I'm really good at it, but also because I see how it changes the life of many people. I've had many people who come to classes and then they tell me, maybe not straight away, but like in years, they say, oh, I was going through a really hard time and dance really helped me. And I think that's really special in our community.
So now that we have this recording, what we want to do is make sense of it. And sometimes it's not necessarily easy. So what we're going to do is take the transcript and put it directly in ChatGPT. So that way ChatGPT is going to make sense of it for us. So the first question here is why ask her to tell her story? And I think this is really important that you imagine that like any hero, you have a background story. And this is unique. Most of the people that are online tell you to create a brand based on the avatar that you want to target and all. The thing that is unique is who we are as a person, how we were raised, what influenced us, but also the thing that happened in our life that organically and naturally we choose a certain path. And so before starting to think about a brand that is going to impact others, you need to think about where you're coming from. You have to imagine that it's a meeting point. It's between the way you are and the way the market is and the people that you're targeting. This is why starting by your story is one of the most important things that you have to do before even talking about your brand or what you're offering or anything like that. The second reason, and why I ask to give it to ChatGPT, is because in the discussion that you're having, this will serve as a foundation in its memory and will update all the information that he has to create the brand that he's working on. It's important to give as much context as possible to ChatGPT. And for that, you need to be as precise as possible. Imagine that it's all the information that you know that ChatGPT doesn't know. What he doesn't know, he can't build on it. So what is required from you is that you're as vulnerable as possible, that you give as much information as possible, that is as precise as possible, but only information that matters to you, that is important to your brand. So now the second step will be to define your desired outcome. So why are you doing this? What do you want to have happen in your life, business, or creative work? And for that, I have already a ChatGPT prompt that is ready. And so the ChatGPT prompt that is there, if you want to read it.
I want to define the real goal behind building my brand. Help me clarify what I want to have happen in my life or business if this brand works. Ask me questions if needed, but aim to get to a single, clear, desired outcome, not vague impact talk.
So here you have some question that appears based on what you have just put. So which is like, for example, do you want more students, more freedom of the time, higher price client, more opportunity outside of teaching? Do you want like, what is some stuff that you don't want to do anymore? So like, for example, random low paid gigs or hustling for student or relying on word to mouth. So this question that, you should ask yourself, and obviously like you need to then find the answers on this question. So the prompt I created are made to use ChatGPT in a different way that you may use to use it. I use ChatGPT almost like a partner where I can ask questions and ChatGPT answers me a certain way. So the way this prompt is created is for it to trigger question to you, and based on this question that you have to answer, and you have to look deep down at what you like and what you don't. What is important when you look at this question is that you say what you don't want. ChatGPT is way better if you tell it what you don't want instead of trying to go on the positive side. So I know it's a little bit contradictory because we want to be positive and we want to say what we want in life, but in reality, we are better at saying what we don't want. So when you answer this question, remember, always say the thing that you don't want, absolutely the thing that you hate, and don't hesitate to be really verbal about it, really honest. Doesn't matter, it's ChatGPT, there is no feelings about that. So you can be as honest as possible when answering this question. So once you have done everything, every clarifying question that you can see and everything, you give it back to ChatGPT to get even more information inside the memory. And so from that moment, ChatGPT will start answering the question about what can be your brand, but it's just the start of what we are trying to do. So in there, what is your brand from ChatGPT?
So ChatGPT says, I want to be the most respected and in-demand sales and bachata teacher in London and in the UK, known for strong technique, a fun and professional attitude, and the ability to teach both leaders and followers. My brand should allow me to sell out group classes effortlessly, charge premium rates for private coaching, work only with students serious about progress, and have the freedom to travel, rest, and choose only the opportunities I truly want.
So here, obviously, this is just the beginning, as I said, and the brand that ChatGPT made is based on the history that you put, but also like this clarifying question. Now, for us to create a brand that is a little bit more specific, because when you look into it, obviously, when we say respected and in-demand salsa bachata teacher in London, a lot of people will want to do that. And the problem that you have when you ask sometimes ChatGPT is that it's not capable to do something that is really personalized or creative. So you have to push and not get just the first answer. So this is why we're going to go in the second part, which is around the core brand identity or the identity that you want for yourself, whether it's for your career or for an app. The next prompt in the guide and the next step is to use ChatGPT to do almost like a psychoanalysis of the way you speak and the way that you express yourself. This is something we're really bad at. The way we structure our sentences or the way we speak is something natural to us. We don't necessarily analyze each word that we were using, or we don't necessarily analyze the way we are saying things. The prompt that she's going to use is going to analyze every chat that she has with ChatGPT, and is going to identify traits that she exhibits and traits that she doesn't exhibit. On top of those traits, ChatGPT is going to give a brand reflection about how you present yourself yourself in a punchy way.
That's actually very true.
So what do you think about what ChatGPT is saying about you? Can you say some stuff that he said?
3 traits that I consistently show: precision, grounded, and balanced. And 2 traits that I don't demonstrate, which I find really funny because this is it's very normal for people in my domain to have those traits. But apparently ChatGPT thinks I don't have them. I agree about that. It says overhyped positivity. There is no fake excitement in your tone. And the second one, it says chaotic creativity. Your brand isn't messy, artsy, or structured. You're not showing up with spontaneous bursts of inspiration or 100 half-finished ideas. Which is very true also. I agree with that.
And finally, for the brand reflection.
The brand reflection is the way you show up is quiet power. You don't scream for attention, but your clarity, consistency, and calm confidence builds trust. You're not trying to be the most famous. You're trying to be the best, the go-to teacher for dancers who are serious about growth. That gives your brand a rare edge in a loud, showy industry. Students who want real results will find you and feel safe with you. You're offering structure, elegance, and transformation without the noise. That's your magnetism. That's your brand.
So again, here it's, as I said, we're stacking like break by break, to build this brand. Because the brand is not made in just one go where you sat down in front of something and then the first sentence you're going to get is going to be your brand. You have to look further inside you, and this is something that is really hard. And so using ChatGPT like that help you look a little bit almost like a psychologist that is looking into your thought and is capable to analyze your thought just for you. So now the next step is going to look at what do you want to be known for? And so what do you want to be known for is what the one transformation idea or value people should associate with you. And so for that, I have another prompt that you can use.
Alex Boniver is a teacher who helps you finally understand how to dance with real technique, confidence, and connection, whether you lead or follow.
Okay, now, what do you think about this sentence? Is there something that you like or you don't like about this sentence? Especially that if there is something that you don't like.
I think real technique is something that I want to be known for. I don't think ChatGPT is reflecting the fact that I have a professional attitude and the fact that I can work with different people.
Okay.
So what ChatGPT says is helps you finally understand how to dance, but it's not a very clear transformation. I don't think that's necessarily going to speak people.
If you can give him more context on what could it mean for transformation for you, what could it be for your students?
For my students, from someone who goes to classes and knows to move but is confused about how to use them or even how to remember them, how to use the moves, how to apply them with different people in different scenarios.
So what Alex is doing behind me, she's giving more information to ChatGPT. As I said before, it's super important that when you're giving a sentence to ChatGPT, is using his memory. So potentially you had discussion about your clients or potentially you had this kind of discussion before. Problem you are going to see sometime in the answer is that it jumps the gun a little bit. What you want to do is always giving more information that is capable to orientate the thinking ChatGPT has. What you have to understand is that ChatGPT works in a probabilistic way. All the answers that it gives you are a supposition. It's an hypothesis. It's not a truth. It's not deterministic. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It gives me this as an input. He's expecting an output. Now, what could be the output that he expects? Calculate the probability in which type of sentences or which type of answer that you want. So this is why the more information you give, the more information he puts inside the input for ChatGPT, and so it can change the answer that you get. So Alex got a new answer from ChatGPT on what could be the transformation.
ChatGPT says Alex Boniver helps dancers go from just knowing steps to truly owning their dancing, understanding when, how, and why to use each move so they can adapt to the music, the partner, and the moment.
And so what it says also is that the transformation is from memorizing moves to truly owning them, from passive student to confident, adaptable dancer. So as you can see in there, like there is a change on the way he's expressing, the transformation, which gives us the right information to go to the next step. The next part is the positioning state. And this has a structure. It's one of the goals that we want to achieve with this template. It's giving a clear definition about what you do. The structure I use personally, and you're going to use during this exercise, is that you help someone with a practical aim on solving a certain issue without a contrast feeling. So if I take my personal statement, I help business owners and creators bring clarity and peace on how to run and grow their business without chaos, trends, or unrealistic advice. advice?
I help salsa and bachata dancers master technique and musicality so they can stop just repeating steps and start dancing with confidence, connection, and control.
What do you think about it?
I think it sounds a bit too... I don't know, it sounds a bit dry.
Okay, say that to ChatGPT then, but it sounds too dry.
Doesn't really speak to human. Kind of want a combination between those two.
Tell him that. So what is important is that you always be blunt with ChatGPT, but also you tell it exactly what you're thinking. For example, right now, Alex wants a combination between option 1 and option 2. So this is why she's giving that so ChatGPT can then rethink and update its memory and give you more options.
So the positioning statement that ChatGPT gave me is I help salsa and bachata dancers stop memorizing moves and start dancing them with flow, control, and connection to the music and their part.
One important tip on the usage of ChatGPT is to always make checkup points. You want to validate that the memory of ChatGPT is updating with the right thing. So what you need to do is ask ChatGPT to give you a summary of where you're right now and what you understand inside his memory. This helps you do two things. First of all, check where you are in your journey. Second, being sure that ChatGPT is updating his memory right. If this is something that doesn't work for you or is not something that you have validated with ChatGPT, it's the moment to update his memory. Okay, so the next step that I want you to do is basically your personal strategy map. So you have chosen until now what is your brand statement, what is the transformation that you want to own, based on your story, but also based on the traits that are only you. The thing now is how do you live it? And this is a big question because sometimes when we choose something, we don't know what is the skills that we have to acquire or what is the thing that we have to do to put it in place. And so the next prompt that you're going to use is basically giving you an idea about what do you need to do, for example, regularly to earn a certain kind of reputation, or what do you need to learn to execute this action, or what do I want to be known for, those kind of things.
Wait, I haven't finished. Okay, so to basically get to my goals, ChatGPT says that I need to learn short form video content creation and offer positioning and pricing psychology, basic branding, design and storytelling, content systems and scheduling, and optional to learn online course design and delivery.
Okay, and what about the rest? He has said.
I think it's very well structured, and it makes sense. It makes sense from one point to the next.
So now we are ready for your next step, which is your core brand phrase. So you have a brand like that you like, that has a tagline?
Not really.
Okay. So, I don't know, Lululemon.
I'm not into brands, actually.
Okay, cool.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan girl.
So every brand has kind of a tagline. Like, for example, Apple is think different. Nike is just do it. McDonald's is I'm loving it. This is kind of a tagline that at a certain point everybody knows. So you kind of need the same thing for you. But it's based on your vibe. It's based on your positioning. It's not based on just copying Nike with something that sounds good. Sometimes it looks a little bit like most people choose a sentence that look good but doesn't mean anything because they don't own it. So for example, when you look at Apple and it says think different, most of the people that have an Apple and you think about it, if you think that who owns an Apple device, like an Apple MacBook or a thing like that, who do you think has those kind of devices?
Well, I think Apple actually can be suited for many people, but it works for professionals, it works for young people, it works for...
But if you look at their brand, who they seem to be targeting?
The simple people, Americans.
I'm gonna keep that.
Okay. Don't post that.
Mainly creative people when you look into it, because they're trying always to show different colors, and they're trying to show that you can be a professional photographer, for example, something like that. They want to address creative people. Where Nike, for example, because they took people like Roger Federer, they took people like
the Jordans.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. They wanted to be associated with greatness. And this is why they chose those people. So that's part of it for them to just do it. So again, there is a ChatGPT prompt that you can use. Try to use it.
Some of the results may vary.
So what do you think about it?
I think it sounds a bit funny, actually.
Okay.
On the dance, I like it. I think that goes kind of more with my identity. And not just move through your dancing. That sounds a bit funny. Make every move mean something that doesn't sound memorable to me. Feel it, lead it, nail it. Sounds a bit wrong. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Yeah, on the dance, I think is my top one here.
Okay, but based on that, like, is there some that you would like to maybe try yourself, or maybe is there other one that, you know, maybe you want to do a mix, or maybe there is something that you want to do? Again, like, the goal is that the prompt are not there to give you just the answer, but it's triggering question that you may be creative on your own. So again, here, like, ChatGPT is not supposed to give you an answer that will match exactly what you think. The goal is, through this exercise, is to trigger a question that made you reflect on it. Doing everything in one day can be quite hard, because a brand needs to come from something that you have inside you, from a passion that you have, and also from values, from feelings, from interests that you have. Obviously, based on the answer that you get, you can sleep on it, come back later in doing it. Like right now, we are trying to do that everything in one day. But when you look into it, I'm pretty sure Alex is going to come back to it like maybe tomorrow or in 2 days or in a week. The thing that you can do is also test it with people, but you can also reflect just on your side and maybe come back to one part in particular. Now that we have chosen like the battle cry, the next step for you is to choose your brand vibe. So which means that, you know, how do you want people to feel when they interact with you or when they interact with your brand? And this is not just when you're with them, it's also like, for example, your website. So this will help to then define, for example, the colors, or it will help define, you know, the kind of wording that you want to use, or the kind of font also that you're going to use, all this kind of things. So this is why it's important to two things to look at is the kind of words that you use, kind of tone, but also the emotional impact that you want to get through. Yeah?
Okay.
Do you have any question?
No.
Okay, so again, there is another prompt that you can use. Have ChatGPT helping you based on everything that you have done until now.
What people feel when they work with you. They feel safe because you're professional, clear, and know exactly what you're doing. They feel challenged because you won't let them hide behind memorizing steps. They feel stronger because your teaching gives them confidence, not just move. You're not overly intense or flashy. You're not trying to impress. You're here to help people level up. With structure, clarity, and warmth, you cut through the noise without cutting people down. That sounds a bit funny. The vibe is you're capable of more. Let's get to it the real way. Yeah, I like this. Your emotional brand tone is grounded, empowering, no BS. I like it. I think that resonates with my brand.
Do you want to change something?
No, not necessarily. I think it's good. I think it's quite on point.
Okay, so we can move to the next step, which is the strategy in action. So test if your real action basically match your brand. Okay, so right now we want to validate that what you have done until now, maybe your action or your website that you have created, fit with a brand that you have created with ChatGPT. One of the things that I want you to do first, I want you to write down one of your projects, or maybe you can tell me one of your projects that you want to write down. You can do it also by voice memo if you want, if it's simpler. Something that will say, this is an offer I want to create, or this is something I want to put in place, and this is how I want to put it. And then after that, use the prompt to test with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will look at your offer and all the choices that you have made, if it's fitting. Otherwise, it will change it.
Okay, so the example I've given to ChatGPT is the 5-week course I teach. It's a 5-week course of like techniques and choreography. So basically, I teach 4 weeks techniques, and I use those techniques into a little piece of choreography. And then in the 5th week course, we do a video recording. My students have a little video of what they've done during the course, and it's for them to see their progress, but also to keep as a memory. Now, what I said to ChatGPT is that I have 3 courses running at the same time, because I have salsa lady styling, bachata lady styling, and bachata styling for men and women. 3 different courses. What ChatGPT is saying is there is stuff that are consistent with my brand, but there is something to watch out for. What ChatGPT says is you're offering 3 courses at once, which could dilute your premium, selective, focused brand energy if not managed carefully. It's fine if each course is intentional and high quality, you stay selective of who joins, and you still show up fully for each student. What do I watch? What does that mean? This feedback that ChatGPT has given me?
So the way ChatGPT looked at your project in your offer, it looked at it and compared it to what you said until now for your brand. In your brand, you say that you want it to be premium, you want to be high quality. The thing that ChatGPT is highlighting, if you're kind of accepting everyone, if you're doing something that is targeted to everybody, maybe you will not be as premium. Because if you want to be premium, you have to be selective on who joins, because you have to be careful about the quality. So again, like the goal is to give you an idea about your brand, because do you want to be as premium as that, or do you want to welcome everybody, which is not necessarily the same thing? Because if your goal is to teach everybody, you don't have to be premium. You know, you can be high quality in the course that you do, but it's not necessarily premium.
Well, what makes it premium is the fact that it's limited numbers in each class. So that I can still pay attention to all my students and I can track their progress and I can help them individually when they need help.
Okay. So that's the thing is here it's premium in terms of quality, not necessarily in terms of skills, which is a little bit different. This is something like what you just said to me, something that you should say to ChatGPT. So that way you understand what you mean by premium. It's again the same thing, is the way that we use our words are not necessarily the way someone else will understand premium. You have a definition of premium in you, and it's the way for values for everything that we do, right? When you say premium, maybe it's not the same way as I say premium. Premium, people will think potentially luxury brand, you know, that is only for a selected few, where other people will say premium in a way that it's like just the quality, but not necessarily for a selected few. So it's not totally the same thing. This particular capability of ChatGPT is a bit hard to understand, but I'm going to try to demystify it for you. ChatGPT is an LLM. It takes a lot of knowledge to be able to give you an answer. The answer that it's giving you is based on what it understands from the meaning of your words. It doesn't mean that it's the way that you want to use these words. So when you use a particular sentence, when you use a particular word, when you use a particular syntax, you may have to explain what you mean to ChatGPT. This is the only way that you can ensure that ChatGPT understands you and is not taking the knowledge from someone else or from any other information that he has in his memory. What Alexa has done is that she has explained to ChatGPT what she meant by premium. When you give this kind of information to ChatGPT, right away ChatGPT updates the brain alignment and you reframe totally what you're doing. So the fact that you keep that also in one chat help you at the end getting the result for everything that you have said until now. So it's important that even after you update the brain alignment, you still validate what you that you have said, because it may have been clear for you, it may not have been clear for ChatGPT. Basically, ChatGPT is like a guy, okay? You're talking to a guy. He doesn't understand. He's kind of stupid. He's 1 and 0. So to be super precise in what you say. So if you talk to ChatGPT like a woman acts sometimes, be sure that he will not understand what you want.
Why are you looking at me?
So now we are ready to go for the last step. I mean, almost the last step, which is the 10th one. So which is, what is your big market? The question that we want to ask is, what bold results should the world associate with your success? So this is where you see people saying, for example, I want to transform 1,000 people. I want people to earn $5 million, or I want to build product that impact 100,000 people. This is where you go with those kind of big goals. So what is important in a brand is that people associate also themselves with this and they get passionate about it. So for example, if we think about Elon Musk says, I want to go to space, I want to conquer space, and I want to go to Mars. You know, there is other people in the world that would like to go to Mars. So because he says that, people will want to associate with him and be like, oh, how can I help? And so there is people that will send their CV, like whatever he's doing on the side, just because they're into like, oh, I want to go to Mars, I want to be part of the first people that go to Mars, they will want to go there. So that's kind of a thing. So if you think about it, what could be like, before you ask ChatGPT anything, what will be for you a bold result that you with what you do?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what it could be.
I don't know.
Do you want to help like a certain number of people feel more confident? Do you want to, what will be like, you know, goal?
I don't know. I don't know.
So let's try the prompt from ChatGPT to see what it says, okay? So what do you think about the result you get from ChatGPT?
It says, I help 1,000 salsa and bachata dancers to go from memorizing steps to dancing with real confidence, control, connection, online and in person. I think it's not enough.
So how many people do you want?
I think I've taught 1,000 people in the last year. I think I've taught more than 1,000 people in the last.
Okay, so what will be a good number from now if you have already done 1,000?
Well, for what time frame?
It doesn't matter.
Well, let's say 10 or at least 5.
10,000? You
Yeah.
10x that?
Well,
okay, fine. Write it down.
It has to be a big goal, no? Otherwise,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
That's
not
to be
big.
ambitious. So write it down. Now that we have established your goal, now we want to have a summary about everything. So there is one last prompt that you have to use, you can use right now, that asks ChatGPT to generate basically the final summary based on everything that you have done until now. So now the thing is, this is just your first step in your brand. This is not giving you everything, but so when you look at it, you will be able to keep that in mind when you're building your brand, and when you're creating your products, when you're teaching people, when you're presenting yourself.
That's just the first step.
That's just the first step.
It says personal brand strategy. It doesn't say first step.
Is that good?
What's the next step?
The next step is to put it in place. That's the next step.
Okay, ChatGPT, how do we do that?
You can ask ChatGPT how to do that. So that's the next step. Good. Now you have seen this. We run through the full template, the 10 steps, and at the end, she has a full brand that she has worked on herself. Now, this is just the beginning. As we said, it's only the first step. Now, you need to test this brand. You need to go to the market, you need to get out of the building, and be capable to test this brand with your future customers. What is important is starting the journey there. It's starting the thinking, it's starting the reflection around what will be an extension of you. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I will see you on the next one.